I would allow you to go and watch the movie. A younger child, it might just be stickers that when you've done your homework, when you've returned your cup, when you have brushed your teeth, when you have dressed in time, then you give them a star, saying very good, excellent. At the end of the week, you could accumulate 2 stars at the end of the month and probably buy even a toy of 500 shillings for them. So different strategies are used for different ages. Yes.
Okay, then. Now, the success rather or failure of a parent is in how well adjusted the child is around their peers, right? So what do you say to a parent who has done all they can, but sometimes the results is not as they would have wished for?
That's why we are encouraging parents to come and find out whether they have the right skills and strategies. I've mentioned that I'm a consultant psychiatrist and we work with clinical psychologists and counseling psychologists. Even the children who have problems, even at late adolescent, we can still help them. We see where things went wrong and fix them. So we offer both treatment and preventive. But again, we say prevention is better than cure. So we emphasize on more parents learning how to do things right rather than wait and treat when the poor parenting has either resulted into anxiety, depression, loss of self-esteem. A child has gotten into drugs because there was no monitoring. So we encourage parents to prevent rather than cure. But when now the problems have set in, we also help because we are trained in both prevention and treatment.
Okay. Well, another thing that comes to mind is social media, in the sense that, many adolescents or, young children, they can just be very high on technology. I mean, most of the time you'll find parents using phones, iPads, and soon a child will learn quickly how to use the same. And before you know it, maybe they'll have a Facebook or Twitter account, or they're on the net researching on something they like, if it's music, art, or whatever. And sometimes you'll discover, just SMSing, their friends, you'll discover that kind of technology will sometimes remove them away from that interpersonal connection they have with their parents, brothers, sisters, the people around them. So how can we manage that particular thing so that technology is good, it's lovely, but it should not disrupt the way, especially a child, the communication they have to their parents. You're always on your earphones, or or you're on social media texting, or you're just texting your friends. How can we manage all that?
You're right. We have one of the topics we discuss is taking control of your child's screen time. And we call it screen time because there are so many screens these days. There's the TV, there's the PlayStation, there's the computer, there's the telephone, there's the iPad, all sorts of gadgets. So when we tell our parents to control the child's screen time, when you say no TV over the holidays is 1 hour, you're forgetting that there's a telephone, there's a computer, there's a PlayStation, and all sorts of those gadgets. So we tell the parents to be sensitive and know that there are so many screens, and so it should be control of your child's screen time. Because technology is good, but too much of it is bad. Again, you need to make sure that you block sites to pornography or monitor. Come and check. Put the computer in a central place, like in the living room, where everybody can see. And make a habit of coming to check what sites, especially with adolescents, what sites were accessed, because they could even go into pornography. So you need to monitor and actually teach even the people who are in the house when you're not there to monitor. Again, telephone. When you go out for lunch, you see many adolescents, they're out for lunch with their family and they're listening to earphones. You have to set limits and say, we have gone out for lunch, we are supposed to bond as a family, so you keep your earphones off, we talk. You can only be allowed to do this for a certain time. So it's upon the parent to actually decide.
Okay. Well, doctor, just a bit. Do you understand? We have a caller. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, please tell us your name and where you're calling from.
My name is Joseph Mwangi.
I beg your pardon. Please be a bit loud.
My name is Joseph Mwangi.
Yes.
Mimi natoka Githurai.
Hello?
Niko nauliza,
Ndio.
unaweza kuwa na watoto. Watoto umelea mzuri. Wote, lakini ndani yao moja ako na habit.
I'm sorry, Mwangi, sikusikii vizuri.
Hasikii vizuri.
No, sikusikii vizuri. Well, sorry about that, viewers. We do apologize about that. A bit of a technical hitch on that call there. But of course, we'll rectify that and we can get Mwangi back on the line and he can, of course, give us his question. But you're explaining something.
Yes.
Well, just before we continue, do you understand that his question was about sibling rivalry? Please, you know, I think maybe he wants to know how to go about it rather. So please, you can explain a bit on that.
Yes, sibling rivalry will always be there. It is upon the parent to actually not to encourage it, because a parent can encourage sibling rivalry by showing favoritism for one child and for comparing the children and not recognizing that every child is unique and has their own talent. You might have one child who is very good in school and another one is very good in sports. So when you keep only praising the one who is good in school and you forget that the other one is good in football and that is his talent, or in swimming, or in music, then now you make this child who is good in music feel that you are favoring the one who who is good in academics. Every child is unique, so as a parent you need to realize the uniqueness of each of your children. Remember every day to praise each child in their own
Capacity.
in their own area of giftedness. So realize each child's temperament, realize what they are good in, praise it for that. Don't favor one child over the other.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, then another thing is that there's this saying of spare the road and spoil the child. How much of the road should we spare?
Unfortunately, studies are showing that if you teach a child that every time they do something wrong, you spank them, then they learn that this is the only way to sort out issues, such that when they are old and probably married and their spouses do something wrong to them, the only way to sort out differences is through spanking or caning or fighting. So it is very good to avoid spanking and resort to other ways. There are kids, when you tell them, if you don't do this or if you do this, you're not going to have TV for the whole day. That is enough punishment for them. When you make them lose privileges, like if they were supposed to have friends over to visit, you tell them, if you've broken this rule, and it needs to have been discussed earlier, not when the misbehavior occurs, that's the time you enforce the punishment. It should have been discussed earlier. So we are seeing making a child lose their privileges, enforcing consequences can actually shape behavior even better than spanking. Again, when you teach a child that when they do something wrong, the only way it's sorted out is through spanking. What about when you're not there and there's nobody to spank them? So the best way is to teach this child how to solve problems, sit with them and discuss issues, and discuss and tell them, if you break these are the rules. We advise every home to have at least 5 rules which are known by everybody, and they should change as the child grows because circumstances change. So if this rule is broken, then you'll have discussed with them. And again, you keep evaluating because things change. You might go out to a child to a shopping mall and see a behavior you've not seen before. When you come home or you sit down and discuss, I saw this happen, it is not right, and the next time it happens, these are the consequences, so I've given you the last warning. So you don't just beat a child because they have done something wrong. You've never discussed it with them. You've never told them it's wrong. So it's good you explain to them first, then you enforce the consequences and you set the rules. And make sure you enforce the consequences. If you just threaten and you never enforce it, then your powers are watered and your child will never listen to you.
Okay, then
Yes.
let's take a look at parenting children of different ages, all the way from a 1-year-old to 2-year-old, 5-year-old to an adolescent.
Yeah, when they are preschools, you need to play with them a lot, and again, you need to praise them for the little successes they make. Like a child who attempts to make a bed, it might not be perfect, but at least praise them for that. A child taking a cup to the kitchen, you also need to teach them to give responsibility by giving them small tasks and chores which are befitting their age. Again, with the age of preschool, you're dealing with a lot of temper tantrums. You have to learn how to ignore them. Again, for every age, you have to set limits. By setting limits, I mean you set rules and enforce consequences and make sure they are followed. There's a technique for that age we call timeout, where a child learns that if I do this, then I will have to go for timeout in a boring room or in a corner sit there where I will not get attention. Of course, you don't tell the child, I will not give you attention, you ignore them. Then they learn that when they've done something wrong, sometimes it's good to learn. If they have become dysregulated, like they are throwing tantrums, they may need to sit there and actually breathe in and out. You teach them how to count up to 10. So time out. Loss of privileges and consequences as per their age. You don't tell a preschool child that I will leave you at the supermarket if you throw a tantrum, and yet you know very well you can't leave them. So at that age, there's a lot of play needed. Even simple things like coloring, simple things like blocks, making houses, building houses with blocks. You need to